Welcome back to the Well-Read Monocle, where we inspect the finest in weird fiction with a discerning eye. I'm your host, and today we are venturing into the second volume of the Lairs of the Hidden Gods Anthology, titled Inverted Kingdom. This collection takes the cosmic horror of the Cthulhu Mythos and transplants it firmly into the soil of Japan, from the sliding doors of the Edo period to the neon-lit decadence of 1930s Shanghai. It is a fascinating blend of Lovecraftian dread and Eastern tradition. Today, I'm going to walk you through the stories in this collection, breaking down the plots, the characters, and the twisted conclusions of each tale. So, polish your monocle and pour a stiff drink. Let's begin. Our first tale is a historical metafiction titled The Horror in the Kabuki Theater by Asamatsu. This story transports us to 19th century Edo, specifically, the bustling world of the Kabuki Theater. The protagonists are not investigators or detectives, but playwrights, the master realist Namaki Gohei and his younger, bolder colleague, Katsu Hyozo. The trouble begins when a play titled The Whale Pantomime goes horribly wrong. Instead of a prop whale, a grotesque, writhing abomination bursts onto the stage, devouring actors and audience members before vanishing. The authorities are baffled, but Gohei and Hyozo discover that a secretive faction of the Mito clan, operating from the Shokokan Museum, has been dabbling in the occult. In a misguided attempt to prove the divine supremacy of ancient Japan, these scholars used a foreign grimoire, the Necronomicon, to summon guardian deities. Instead, they unleashed the Great Old Ones. Gohei and Hyozo consult with a Dutch trade captain, Hendrik Def, who explains the Lovecraftian cosmology, the battle between the Elder Gods and the Great Old Ones. He warns that fiction and tales can act as gateways for these entities to enter our reality. Realizing that the monsters are manifesting through the power of storytelling, the playwrights decide to fight fire with fire. They gather the greatest writers and actors of Edo to stage a new play, The Spectacular Tale of the Haika. This isn't just a performance, it's a ritual. The play is written specifically to trap the entity, identified as Cthulhu, and banish it back to its dimension. The plan works. During the climactic performance, the actors engage in a metaphysical battle with the invisible monster. As the ritual peaks, a fire breaks out, historically known as the Great Fire of Bunka, destroying the theater. Gohei throws the script into the flames, sealing the portal. The monster is banished, and the tale is closed, saving Edo from total destruction, though at a heavy cost to the city. Next, we move to the decadence of 1933 Shanghai in Taste of Snake's Honey by Matsudono Ryo. Our narrator is Albert Johnson, a wealthy, young American heir with a taste for the perverse. While the Great Depression ravages America, Albert lives like a king in Shanghai, indulging in sadism and debauchery. He is guided by his late father's business partner, the enigmatic Li Fan Wei. Albert has two peculiar afflictions, a memory disorder that blocks out parts of his past, and a seasonal, insatiable hunger that drives him to commit violent acts. Fan Wei takes Albert to a mysterious, high-end brothel in the French Concession. There, Albert is introduced to a woman named Chun Hoa, who is presented as his bride. The twist? Chun Hoa is legally dead, or at least, she appears to be a preserved corpse, yet she is warm and moves with a strange, lethargic life. As Albert spends the night with her, his memory begins to unlock. Fan Wei reveals the terrifying truth: Albert's father and Fan were once researchers in Oklahoma who encountered a cult worshipping the snake god, Yig. They didn't just study the cult, they participated. Albert and Chun Hoa are not human beings, they are the hatchlings of a daughter of Yig. Albert reads his father's journal and realizes he hatched from a blue egg, while Chun Hoa hatched from a pearl one. They are children of the snake god, destined to mate and perpetuate their eldritch lineage. Accepting his true nature, Albert sheds his human identity along with his morality. He and Chun Hoa plan to enter a state of hibernation to shed their skins and assume their true, scaled forms. The story ends with a chilling image, the two lovers being packed into a freezer, manufactured by Albert's own company, to be shipped back to Oklahoma as rare snake meat, returning to their ancestral home to lay their eggs. We return to our inspection with the title story of the collection, Inverted Kingdom by Matsuo Murai. This tale is a psychological puzzle that pays homage to the Shadow over Innsmouth, but with a distinct focus on memory and identity. Our narrator is Mizuki, a young orphan working as a hostess in Tokyo. When a massive typhoon hits Japan, she begins suffering from strange, hallucinatory visions of a dark, freezing lake and black volcanic rocks. Driven by these visions and a mysterious phone call from a husband she doesn't remember having, she travels to Lake Psycho. However, the narrative shifts, revealing she is actually being taken there by a wealthy customer named Tachikawa. Tachikawa isn't just looking for romance, he is obsessed with a strange scar on Mizuki's back, a mark that identifies her as something other than human. He takes her to the site of a village called Onihama, literally Devil's Shore, which was wiped out by a landslide years ago. Mizuki is dragged into the lake, not to drown, but to return home. She recovers her suppressed racial memories. She is not a human woman, but a vessel for the deep ones. The story reveals a terrifying cycle. In every age, a Mizuki is born to mate with a beast in the underwater fissures, giving birth to twins, one human-looking, one beast, who then mate to continue the lineage. Mizuki realizes she is trapped in an eternal loop of breeding monsters for a formless king beneath the water, her human life merely a facade to facilitate this eldritch reproduction. Next, we examine Terror Rate by Konika Chiaki. This story blends quantum physics with the mythos. Yoshi, a gutsy young woman in post-war Tokyo, answers a newspaper ad offering a high wage for a simple task: stay in a gloomy, abandoned farmhouse for 24 hours. Her employer is Professor Kutake, a disgraced academic who believes that extreme human fear can alter the physical laws of the universe, a variable he calls the terror rate. Yoshi is skeptical, but as the night wears on, the house begins to shift. She discovers a book titled Al-Azif, written by the professor himself, and encounters another test subject, a young man named Masuoka. The horror sets in when she realizes Masuoka is not a living man, but a reanimated corpse with his spinal cord exposed. Yoshi attempts to flee, counting down to bolster her courage. She bursts out of the house, only to find that the world outside has vanished. Instead of the rice fields of Tokyo, she steps into a prehistoric, alien landscape of jagged mountains and poisonous skies. The professor's experiment succeeded. Her fear tore a hole in reality, stranding her in a cosmic hellscape. The story ends with a chilling epilogue set decades later in 1997, where another young woman answers a spam email for a similar experiment, implying the professor is still recruiting victims across time. Our journey descends into the depths with Secrets of the Abyss by Tanaka Fumio. The protagonist is a country doctor living in a quarry town. His wife, Setsuko, is dying of terminal cancer, and his beloved dog, Boss, has disappeared. One day, the dog returns, completely cured of its own ailments. The doctor tracks the dog's movements to a flooded mine shaft, where he discovers a population of ancient, coelacanth-like fish living in the subterranean waters. Convinced that eating these fish cured his dog, the doctor becomes obsessed with catching one to save his dying wife. He succeeds in spearing one of the creatures, but before he can butcher it, he is confronted by a group of strange, frog-like men, deep ones, who emerge from the shadows. They are not happy about the theft. The entities take the fish, the dog's body, and his wife, Setsuko. The doctor is subsequently arrested for his wife's murder. Police divers find her body in the flooded quarry, eviscerated, but find no trace of the fish or the monsters. The doctor is sentenced to death. However, in his final days, he receives a visitation in prison. His wife and his dog appear on the other side of the bars. They have been reborn as deep ones. Setsuko tells him she has returned in good health. The doctor accepts his fate, realizing he, too, will soon join them in a reality far removed from the rational world. We move now to the bustling streets of Harajuku and A Night at Yuan-Su by Nanjo Takenori. This story is a direct homage to H.P. Lovecraft's The Outsider and He. The narrator is a recluse who despises the modern, noisy youth culture of Harajuku, which he calls by its Chinese reading, Yuansu. He longs for the elegance of the past and spends his nights reading forbidden tomes like the Necronomicon. One night, seeking a drink, he wanders the city. He tries to visit a bar named He, but finding it closed, he enters various other establishments. Everywhere he goes, people react with sheer terror, turning pale or driving him away. He finally enters a Chinese restaurant where the staff are equally horrified but serve him out of fear. He drinks a glass of clear liquor that burns his throat like fire. Panicked and in pain, he rushes back to his secluded home. The narrative reveals the truth the narrator refuses to admit: he is not a refined gentleman, but a walking corpse, a ghoul rumored to be haunting the garden. The decadent modern people aren't being rude, they are terrified of a rotting monster trying to order a drink. Finally, we arrive at Summoned by the Shadows by Hirayama Yumiki. Our protagonist is a down-on-his-luck taxi driver who moves his family into a cheap rental house that comes with a strange feature: a grave in the backyard. Slowly, the house corrupts his wife. She begins chanting in an alien tongue, making inverted crosses, and obsessing over a ventriloquist's dummy named Yuichi, whom she treats like a living child. Meanwhile, the driver starts picking up bizarre passengers in his taxi, people wrapped in bandages, strange foreigners, and cultists, all of whom demand to be taken to his own neighborhood. It culminates in a nightmarish ritual. The driver returns home to find his house filled with these ghoulish passengers. His wife is about to sacrifice their son to the doll, Yuichi, who has become a living, malevolent entity. The driver frantically destroys a set of pulsating hoses in the garden that seem to be feeding the house's evil. He thinks he has broken the spell, but later, his wife calls him, sobbing that she has killed the child. In a tragic twist, the police find that she has hacked the doll Yuichi to pieces, believing it was the monster, but her mind has snapped. She is institutionalized, forever believing she murdered her own son, while the boy is actually alive and safe. The driver realizes too late that he should have fled the moment the shadows began to gather. And there we have it, Inverted Kingdom. A collection that suggests the boundaries between our modern world and the ancient abyss are terrifyingly thin. Whether it's a flooded mine in the countryside or a taxi ride through Tokyo, the hidden gods are never far away. If you enjoyed this deep dive into Japanese cosmic horror, do subscribe to the Well-Read Monocle. Until next time, keep your eyes on the shadows, and try not to read the Latin out loud. Good night.